Okay, it tells me it's preparing to live stream my meeting. So we'll go ahead and talk about the tea first. Today I am drinking Celestial Seasonings Peppermint, which is quite nice. Feels a little bit Christmassy, which is lovely. And we're live. Hello, and welcome to Tea and New Book Tuesday. I'm Lisa. I'll be your librarian today. Today we're going to talk about January's yellow labels. Here at Mobile Public Library, yellow labels are mystery, thriller, and suspense, as I'm sure many of you could recite from memory at this point. We're going to discuss the stuff that's pre-ordered and already in the catalog, ready for you to put holds on it, that's coming in January. Normally, we would now launch into your favorite part of Tea and New Book Tuesday and mine, which is the giveaway. But we're having a sneaky giveaway where one of the books I'm going to discuss today is part of the giveaway. So instead, I want to talk first. So we'll talk about that when we get to that book. But I'm going to share my screen with you because I have something I want to show you. Yes, I know I'm being live streamed. Where? Share screen. Let's go here, I guess. Nope, not the one I wanted. Let's try that again. We want that one, the one that has Facebook. Okay, so we now have live our best book of the year vote. I've already gotten some results. Fiction is all over the place. I think I have, of the results I have, almost, there's a different fiction book from every single person. So it's still wide open. But again, this is what it looks like. You can get access to it through our social media posts, but I'm going to go ahead and put the link for this in the comments in case you want to jump over there and vote on what is your favorite fiction and nonfiction book of the year. I've already had one write in for fiction. Interestingly, I haven't had a single vote for Mobile's Port Parade, and I kind of thought that was a foregone conclusion that that would be a winner. Instead, all the nonfiction votes have been the politics stuff, which people are passionate about, so that, kind of makes sense. But is also meh. I think there's a lot of other things here that are also interesting. So I will put that link in the comments so that you can go and vote if you would like to. After this is over, we're going to go ahead and launch into this because, like I said, we're getting to the giveaway. So moving on. Tea New Book Tuesday, starting with The Intangible by C.J. Washington. Amanda Jackson has always longed to be a mother. Did I give away a copy of this? No. Did I? I don't think I did. I feel like I've read the description before. But anyway, Amanda Jackson has always longed to be a mother. The early weeks of her first pregnancy are a mixture of joy, anticipation, and uncertainty as she and her husband prepare for the journey ahead. Then comes a devastating loss. Even though her doctors tell her otherwise, Amanda believes she's still pregnant. Her diagnosis is a rare, mysterious condition called pseudocyesis. Betrayed by her body and mind and her marriage strained, Amanda turns to neuroscientist Patrick Davis for answers. Patrick understands the strange twists and turns of the human mind better than anyone. But as he spirals even deeper into Amanda's illness, his own home life crumbles as his wife, Marissa, struggles to cope with her own loss. Marissa's unique and, some may think, macabre work is her salvation, but it's pulling her further and further away from Patrick. As the two couples confront the fraught intersection of science, death, and human emotion, they venture into the darkest corner of each other's lives. What they find there could change them forever. This already got a star review from Booklist most of today because, you guys, there are a lot of books coming out in January, and there's a lot of mystery yellow label stuff coming out in January too. I think this is a domestic thriller. I think that's how that got in on this list. But to narrow this list down, most of these are already critically acclaimed. That's how they got on here. Or they're a debut author. Because I like to introduce you to new authors in case maybe that author will be your new favorite author. But anyway, if you are interested in The Intangible, it comes out January 1st. All right. The Loudness by Mark Prinz. Tessa Templeton has thrived at Oxford University under the tutelage and praise of the esteemed classics professor Christopher Eccles. And now his support is the one thing she can rely on. Her job search has yielded nothing, and her devotion to her work has just cost her boyfriend Ben. Yet shortly before her thesis defense, Tessa learns that Chris has sabotaged her career and realized their relationship is not at all what she believed. Driven by what he mistakes as love for Tessa, Chris has ensured that no other institution will offer her a position, keeping her at Oxford with him. His tactics grow more invasive as he is determined to prove that he has her best instincts at heart. Meanwhile, Tessa scrambles to undo the damage, and in the process makes a startling discovery about an obscure second century literary poet, Latin poet, that could launch her into academic stardom, finally freeing her from Chris's influence. A contemporary reimagining of the Daphne and Apollo myth, The Loudness is a page-turning exploration of power, ambition, and the intertwining of love and obsession. This is a debut novel. It is also the reason I delayed the giveaway, because I have a copy to give away. So if you're interested in The Loudness, you want to put The Loudness and your MPL location for pickup in the comments below. You also could ask for one of these other 4 books. I have Diamond and the Eye by Paul Lovesley, which is a Peter Diamond investigation, so part of a Peter Diamond series. This is the 20th installment. Oh, it's apparently an award-winning series, and it's set in Bath, England. If there's one thing Bath detective Peter Diamond has no patience for, it's a dumb git trying to get involved in one of his investigations. For example, a Philip Marlowe wannabe private investigator, like the self-styled Johnny Gets. His card claims he gets results, but fate has saddled Diamond with this trial. A Bath antiques dealer, Septimus Seppi Hubbard, has disappeared without a trace, and his daughter Ruby has hired Johnny Getz to find him. When a dead body is discovered in Seppi's locked-up store, the missing persons case becomes a murder investigation, and now Diamond has to collaborate with the insufferable Private Eye. Okay, so that is Diamond and the Eye. We also have Lisa Unger's Last Girl Ghosted. This came out in October, as did Diamond in the Eye. She met him through a dating app, an intriguing picture on a screen, a meeting at a downtown bar. What she thought might be just a quick hookup quickly became much more. She fell for him hard. But then, just as things were getting real, he stood her up. Then he disappeared. Profiles deleted, phones disconnected, she was ghosted. Maybe it was her fault. She shared too much too fast, but soon she learned there were others, girls who thought they were in love, who later went missing. She had been looking for a connection, and now she's looking for answers, chasing a digital trail into a dark past. And hers, she finds herself on a dangerous hunt, and she's not sure whether she's the predator or the prey. So that's Last Girl Ghosted. Next up, we have another October release, which was 5 Strangers by Evie Adamson. With its grassy hills and breathtaking city views, London's Hampstead Heath is the perfect place to spend an afternoon with friends and loved ones. And on an unseasonably warm Valentine's Day, the lawns are especially full. So when the aggressive lovers' quarrel breaks out, there's an audience of park goers nearby to hear the shouts traded back and forth, and to watch as the violence escalates suddenly to murder, then suicide. For the 5 strangers who observe the gruesome act, the memory of the gore is unshakable. But one of them, disgraced journalist Jen Hunter, is compelled to question the truth of what she thought she saw. Are the facts of the case plain as day, or were they obscured in a moment by a blinding sunlight? As she mounts an obsessive investigation for a seemingly impossible alternative, the lives of the other witnesses began to unravel, each in its own particular way. Soon one thing becomes clear. The crime they witnessed was more terrible, more twisted, and more far-reaching than they could have imagined. So that's 5 Strangers. And I have one more that's not out yet. This comes out in January. No, actually, it comes out in February. It comes out February 1st. The Family Chow by Lan Samantha Chang. This is okay. The residents of Haven, Wisconsin, have dined on the Fine Chow's restaurant's delicious Americanized Chinese food for 35 years, happy to ignore any unsavory whispers about the family owners. But when brash, charismatic, and tyrannical patriarch Leo Chow is found dead, presumed murdered, his sons find they've drawn the exacting gaze of the entire town. The ensuing trial begins to light potential motives for all 3 brothers. Daegu, the restaurant's reckless head chef, Ming, financially successful but personally tortured, and the youngest, gentle but lost college student, James. As the spotlights on the brothers tighten and the family dog meets an unexpected fate, Daegu, Ming, and James must reckon with the legacy of their father's outsized appetites and their own future survival. Brimming with heartbreak, comedy, and suspense, The Family Chow offers a kaleidoscopic, highly entertaining portrait of a Chinese-American family grappling with the dark undercurrents of a seemingly pleasant small town. So that's The Family Chow. If you want any of these 5 books, put the name of the book in the comments below, along with your MPO location for pickup. You have until Friday morning because I'm not going somewhere or dealing with crazy Thanksgivingness or whatever madness. Yes, so we have until Friday today, although I think those are going to go fast. So I'd say get on it. Also, the Loudness comes out January 4th. Moving on to A Flicker in the Dark by Stacy Willingham. Okay. When Chloe Davis was 12, 6 teenage girls went missing in her small Louisiana town. By the end of the summer, Chloe's father had been arrested as a serial killer and promptly put in prison. Chloe and the rest of her family were left to grapple with the truth and try to move forward while dealing with the aftermath. Now, 20 years later, Chloe is a psychologist in private practice in Baton Rouge and getting ready for her wedding. She finally has a fragile grasp on the happiness she's worked so hard to get. Sometimes, though, she feels as out of control of her own life as the troubled teens who are her patients. And then a local teen girl goes missing, and then another, and that terrifying summer comes crashing back. Is she paranoid and seeing parallels that aren't really there? Or, for the second time in her life, is she about to unmask a killer? In a debut novel that has already been optioned for a limited series by actress Emma Stone and sold to 12 countries around the world, Stacy Willingham has created an unforgettable character in a spellbinding thriller that will appeal equally to fans of Gillian Flynn and Karen Slaughter. So yes, this is a debut novel. If you are interested in A Flicker in the Dark, it comes out January 11th. The Final Case by David Guterson. So a girl dies one late rainy night, a few feet from the back door of her home. The girl, Abiba, was born in Ethiopia. Her adoptive parents, Delvin and Betsy Harvey, conservative, white fundamentalist Christians, are charged with her murder. Royal, a Seattle criminal attorney in the last days of his long career, takes Betsy Harvey's case. An octogenarian without a driver's license, he leans on his son, the novel's narrator, as he prepares for trial. So begins The Final Case, a bracing, astute, and deeply affecting examination of justice and injustice, and familiar love. David Gutterson's first courtroom drama since Snow Falling on the Cedars is his most compelling and heartfelt novel to date. This already has starred reviews from Booklist, Publishers Weekly, and Kirkus. So you can see why the librarians bought it. It's probably on the short list for best book of the year, although most of those came out at the beginning of December. So maybe it's on next year's list. At any rate, if you're interested in The Final Case, it comes out January 11th. Take a sip of my tea. Next up is The Tally Stick by Carl Nixon. Up on the highway, the only evidence that the Chamberlains had ever been there were 2 smeared tire tracks in the mud, leading into an almost undamaged screen of bushes and trees. No other cars passed that way until after dawn, and by the time the tracks had been washed away by heavy rain, After being in New Zealand only 5 days, the English Chamberlain family had vanished into thin air. The date was the 4th of April, 1978. In 2010, the remains of the eldest Chamberlain child are discovered in a remote part of the West Coast, showing he lived for 4 years after the family disappeared. Found alongside him are his father's watch and what turns out to be a tally stick, a piece of scored wood marking items of debt. How had he survived and then died? Where is the rest of the family? And what is the meaning of the tally stick? This got a star review from Publishers Weekly. I do think the author might be working off of a real story, because there is a story of an Australian family that got in the car and kind of abandoned their home very abruptly and went driving across the country like they were running from something, except no one was chasing them. And they split up at various points, and there was more bizarre behavior. At one point, one of them just stood in the road for a while. It got super weird, guys. And they were found and taken to care, and we still don't really have an explanation of what overtook them. They weren't in debt. Again, they acted like they were chased, and they have said, I don't think they've explained what happened real thoroughly. But I think there has been some statements that they felt they were being pursued. But again, no one was actually pursuing them until they were reported missing, and then sort of everyone was looking for them. But yeah, it's this bizarre case that I think, but there's been other cases. There's another one in the US of a family that went missing, and eventually they did find the bodies. It was a parent and a daughter, and it was so many years later, all they really found was bones, and they still don't know what happened. The sheriff in that case has said it's really hard. Normally you're eliminating things. He's like, I can't eliminate anything because everything is still possible with this collection of clues. So it's possible he's working with that. Except, of course, this is going to be a story with a conclusion and hopefully some answers. But if you're interested in the tally stick, it comes out, January 18th. It's not come out in October. That would be crazy. Oh, okay. Moving on to Chloe Cates is Missing by Mandy McHugh. Chloe Cates is missing, which we knew. The 13-year-old star of the hit YouTube series CC and Me has disappeared, and nobody knows where she's gone. Least of all, her ruthless momager, Jennifer Scarborough, who has spent much of her daughter's young life crafting a child celebrity persona that is finally beginning to pay off. And in Chloe's absence, the faux fairy tale world that supported that persona begins to fracture, revealing secrets capable of reducing the highly functional Scarborough family to rubble. Anxious to find her daughter and preserve the life she's worked so hard to build, Jennifer turns to social media for help. But the hearsay, false claims, and salacious suspicions only multiply. As the search becomes as sensational as Chloe's series, missing persons detective Emelina Stone steps in, only to realize she has a connection to the case herself. Will she be able to stay objective and cut through the rumors to find the truth before it's too late? Told from multiple points of view, including Jennifer, Emelina, and pages from Chloe's lost diary, Chloe Cates is Missing is a suspenseful novel of a child pushed to the brink and of a troubled family that desperately needs her back. This is a debut novel, so if you're interested in Chloe Cates is Missing, Mandy McHugh's very first novel, it comes out January 18th. All right. Take a drink and then we'll get into Greenwich Park by Catherine Faulkner. Helen's idyllic life, handsome architect husband, gorgeous Victorian house, and cherished baby on the way after years of trying, begins to change the day she attends her first prenatal class and meets Rachel, an unpredictable single mother-to-be. Rachel doesn't seem very maternal. She smokes, drinks, and professes little interest in parenthood. Still, Helen is drawn to her. Maybe Rachel just needs a friend, and to be honest, Helen's a bit lonely herself. At least Rachel is fun to be with. She makes Helen laugh, invites her confidences, and distracts her from her fears. But her increasingly erratic behavior is unsettling, and Helen's not the only one who's noticed. Her friends and family begin to suspect that her strange new friend may be linked to their shared history in unexpected ways. When Rachel threatens to expose a past crime that could destroy all of their lives, it becomes clear that there are more than a few secrets lying between the broad leaves and warm lamplights of Greenwich Park. This is a debut novel, but it also got a starred review from Kirkus Magazine, which is high praise indeed. If you're interested in Greenwich Park, it comes out January 25th. All right, our second to last book, and one I had to include purely because of the title and setting, The Department of Rare Books and Special Collections by Eva Jurek. We'll get into the setting, but I've volunteered in archives. The school I attended to get my master's in library science was next to the rare book and special collections room at the University of Iowa. So I got to tour that. They have part of a Gutenberg Bible. So this is a really common thing, especially for a university to have. Sometimes a large city will have some version of it too. New York City definitely does. I think Nashville does, because I saw their rare book room when I visited their public library back when we were still having PLA, so 2020, 2019, something like that. So yeah, it's exactly what it sounds like it would be. It's the books that you really kind of can't check out because they're so special. Losing them would be disastrous, and they would be unreplaceable. In some cases, that's because the book is genuinely valuable, and in other cases, it's because it's a piece of history associated with that community. So rules tend to be a little different when dealing with a special collections department, and there's tend to be a little bit more restrictions under the idea that we're going to keep everything in that department and keep it safe. There was a guy who stole books from libraries across the country, especially in like the northern and middle part of the country. He stole several books from the University of Iowa, including some from the rare and special collections. He was liberating them from the mean librarians. And by liberating them, he stored them in his unair conditioned, unheated, not temperature controlled barn on his property where he lived by himself. The books were not safe. The books were not good. It was a bad situation. But it was years later when I came to the university and we still had his picture up as do not admit this person. If you see him in the library, call the cops. But I think he might have actually been in jail at that point, so it seemed unlikely he was going to come by for a visit. Also, to get the labels off of the books, he would like lick them. So weird. So insane. Anyway, moving on to this actual book by Eva, last name, Jerksicle. I have no idea. Anyway, Liesl Weiss has been mostly happy working in the rare books department of a large university, managing details and working behind the scenes to make the head of the department look good. But when her boss has a stroke and she's left to run things, she discovers that the library's most prized manuscript is missing. Liesl tries to sound the alarm, as well she should, and inform the police about the missing priceless book, but is told repeatedly to keep quiet, to keep the doors open and the donors happy. But then a librarian goes missing as well. Liesl must investigate both disappearances, unspooling her colleagues' past like the threads of a rare book binding, as it becomes clear that someone in the department must be responsible for the theft. What Liesl discovers about the dusty manuscripts and about the people who preserve and revere them shakes the very foundation on which she has built her life. right. If you are interested in what sounds really interesting, I don't know. The Department of Rare Books and Special Collections comes out January 25th. All right, our final book of the day. By the way, gorgeous cover, really neat. Good Rich People by Eliza Jane Brazier. Lila has always believed that life is a game she is destined to win, but her husband Graham takes the game to dangerous levels. The wealthy couple invites self-made success stories to live in their guest house and then conspires to ruin their lives. After all, there is nothing worse than a bootstrapper. Demi has always felt like the odds were stacked against her. At the end of her rope, she seizes a risky opportunity to take another person's life and unwittingly becomes the subject of the upstairs couple's wicked entertainment. But Demi has been struggling all her life, and she's not about to go down without a fight. In a twist that neither woman sees coming, the game quickly devolves into chaos and rockets towards an explosive conclusion. Because every good rich person knows, in money and in life, it's winner take all, even if you have to leave a few bodies behind. Okay, so possibly for fans of Squid Game. Good Rich People got a Publisher's Weekly Star review. If you are interested in this book, it comes out January 25th. All right, those are our books today. Do not forget to sign up for the giveaway if you want one of these 5 books. Also add your MPL location for pickup. Go ahead. I'm going to put it in the comments where you can vote for your favorite book of the year. It just takes like a second. So I'll put that there so you can do that. And of course, there's our newsletter and our Goodreads group if you want to participate in either of those. Links are in the description. Thank you very much for joining me. Oh, no, I'm not where I should be. Let me get out of here. There we go. Thank you very much for joining me. I will see you next Tuesday when we will talk about romance and historical fiction. All right. Bye, guys.